After an 8-month tour in support of Somewhere in Time, Iron Maiden took most of the rest of 1987 off before Steve Harris began writing some new songs on his own. The first song he had a general outline for was The Clairvoyant, which he says was inspired by the death of a famous British medium named Doris Stokes. Next up was the eventual title track, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, based both upon the mythological figure as well as the novel of the same name by Orson Scott Card. Harris, either out of an intuitive sense that it was a creative landmark in the making, or perhaps a subconscious sense of guilt at not including his compositions on the prior release, he contacted Bruce Dickinson first about possibly doing a concept record. Dickinson, intrigued at the concept, started brainstorming in his fervor to contribute to the release. All told, Dickinson had a hand in half of the album's 8 tracks, including Moonchild, Can I Play with Madness, The Evil That Men Do, and Only the Good Die Young. When the band convened in late 1987 to write the final songs, magic happened, and the pieces just fell into place for a consistent concept album which vaguely refers to the proverbial seventh son. However, behind all of this facade lies another introspective record by the band, in which themes of self-identity, responsibility with power, and jurisprudence in presenting advanced concepts to minds that are not ready to understand them are interwoven flawlessly into this tale of a person who possesses so-called supernatural abilities. With special note to Infinite Dreams, The Evil That Men Do, and the acoustic passage of The Prophecy, the profundity and soul of this album can truly be felt on a tangible level. While the depths the band reached and expressed on Somewhere in Time feel a bit retreated on Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, it is nonetheless a superb effort and has an almost mystical quality that has persevered through the past quarter century since its initial release. Some vibes of this album really resonate on a compassionate level with the lesser evolved people in the world, while other parts really explore perfectly the greed and fear that drives the powerful people of the world to commit the atrocities they do in saving face in order to keep the illusion of their position. In that respect, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is a record I would describe as comprehensive, and also unnerving as I listen to the so-called evil passages, as they do a great job of conveying the turmoil and selfishness that is the heart of the destructive aspects and potentials of human nature. Moving along, let us test the waters of this creative bastion in Iron Maiden's glorious history, 1988's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Long days and pleasant nights to you, sires and madams, as we brave forward on this treacherous path through Iron Maiden's heyday of the 1980s, which, with the release of this record, marks the end of their 1980s albums. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, the band's aptly titled seventh studio release, is still quite the anomaly in their catalog, with a mystical aura and the feel of a lovely narrative that fully explores all aspects of human nature. Roughly a quarter century's gone by since they first released it in 1988, and it still stands as one of Iron Maiden's strongest and most consistent recordings to date. Not only does it stand the test of time musically, but the themes in it are just as relevant to understanding ourselves as they were in the 80s. Looking back on the band's progression after this record is a little bit unfortunate, yet it seems like it was a necessary step for them to retreat back a little bit after diving so deeply within themselves with Somewhere in Time and this release, to really put things into perspective in their personal lives as individuals. However, laying that aside, the band became more firmly established worldwide with the tour after this album, and got them a hit single with Can I Play with Madness, and it helped them to deepen their foundation as one of the all-time greats in music, rock or otherwise. As I said in the opening narrative, they feel as if they retreated a little bit from the depths of introspection that they expressed on Somewhere in Time. And while there are great songs on Seventh Son, and it's still one of their top 5 records in my opinion, there are a few moments on this album where I stamp the hobby song label pretty firmly, and it does bog down the vibe of the record overall, the flow of it. I'm not sure how this happens, but a lot of Iron Maiden's otherwise great songs lack some abstract quality that just feels like there's a weight dangling underneath the song and slows it down and not allowing the richer aspects of the theme to fully manifest. Still, casting the incantation of introspection is the warlock himself, Steve Harris, who at his strongest always seems to project the most profound and esoteric aspects into Iron Maiden's songs. His compositions on Seventh Son of a Seventh Son are among the strongest on the record, and even though there are weaker aspects to some of the songs that he penned, which might be the result of improper understanding on the result of the other band members, they're still really strong songs. I could be wrong on the notion with the other band members, but in any case, it's a wonderful record, and I can always appreciate and enjoy while listening to any of the tracks on it. So, that's that. The ice now broken, let us see what lies within, unearthed in this vault. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Okay, Moonchild. It's got this cool acoustic guitar intro and builds up into keyboards, then guitar and drums coming in, invoking this kind of mystical vibe and overall reminiscent of a stage production, the way they present it. The first verse has a feel like the devil on your shoulder whispering in your ear, and nice projection by the guys in this. The chorus is pretty strong, and the riffing further conveying that mystical aura and mood to the overall song tone, and you can feel the desperation and damnation of the different characters, and the lyrics are very cool, really intense, and great job foreshadowing the overall story. The bridge after the second chorus has kind of hushed vibe to it, like a hidden motivation or conspiracy to destroy or manipulate the Moonchild into joining them. The instrumental passage after that's really nice, with some cool soloing that showcases this battle of good and evil kind of vibe they're establishing, and it's a great opening track, good experimentation, and overall instrumentally it's solid and very different sounding for them. On a critical note or two, the chorus is a bit repetitive and it's not super deep projection wise, despite the strengths I listed above, and it lacks an overall genuine feel, as if their hearts weren't really in it all that much, kind of a hobby song. So with that said, here be the rating. Moonchild gets a final rating of 10.5 out of 13. Alright, Infinite Dreams. It's got a lovely intro, really soulful guitar, and keyboard adds to that wonder as he attempts to grasp seeing the images in his dreams. The verses are really groovy, the guitar, the really strong vocals, the introspective vibe, and it projects well him struggling with his inner convictions. The second half of the first verse, where he sings Minds in Turmoil, it really conveys well the struggle to orient himself, thinking of the implications of carrying on after reflecting on what he's seen in his visions, and a really cool tempo shift into the second verse is awesome. The keyboard adds so much to the mood, and feels like he's having an out-of-body experience and a vision of possible futures, struggles with wanting to get lost in the vision, but scared to brave on because he feels like he's going to lose his identity in the process. The bridge in the middle is very strong as he dives into this vision head-on and glimpsing what he could be, gaining faith and strength, and also seeing his own inevitable slavery to fate, and he feels that all is predetermined and he can't stop it no matter what he does. I love this guitar harmony riff leading into the bridge as he sings "Help Me," "See My True Self," and whatnot. Really projects his desperation as he sees his future life unfolding, or a potential future life. The second half of the bridge has some great solos that do a really good job conveying his resolve to carry on, and also his ongoing struggle even as he makes the decision to submit to fate. The third verse, really strong lyrics, very reflective and profound, knowing that he's going to be back to live another life even if he dies. Critical note, despite being this strong overall song, feels like a pale reflection of what Steve Harris was actually trying to convey through it. But anyway, here's the rating. Infinite Dreams receives a final rating of 11.58 out of 13. Can I Play with Madness? Love the intro vocal harmony, really powerful conveyance of like a priesthood kind of vibe, I guess, is what I feel. First verse lyrics are pretty introspective. The chorus is anthemic, and the keyboards add a nice ambience to the mood. The instrumental bridge in the middle is pretty cool, nice build-up. I like the cowbell that Nico uses. The guitars really show a glimpse of that crystal ball and what it could portend. And instrumentally, overall, it's a pretty cool and very different sounding song for Maiden. On the critical notes, lyrics overall lack a kind of a punch and projection missing in them. The choruses overall just aren't super deep either, despite some strengths, and ultimately it just lacks a lot of depth. Another hobby song kind of vibe, and I can feel it pretty acutely in this song, kind of like Moonchild or Power Slave, just not very profound or soulful overall. So here's the rating. Can I Play with Madness receives a final rating of 9.77 out of 13. Okay, The Evil That Men Do. The intro is beautifully done in this song, very soulful, with the keyboard and guitars showing the sadness and introspection at the nature of human beings and the atrocities they commit in fear and ignorance. The first verse, the lyrics are very profound as he experiences this transition into a new awareness of the world around him through his actions in the present. The pre-choruses are just lovely, and you can really feel the love that he feels for his fellow men, even though their deeds and actions could unravel him, and the desire he has to help them in any way he can. The vocals during the chorus are beautiful, and they really capture the mood amazingly, the desperation and the helplessness that he feels as well. The guitars overall in this song really capture the moods very well, especially the intro and the pre-chorus, which is the same melody, but just played differently. The lyrics are amazing, and they're very introspective, they're beautiful, and just so filled with love. You can really feel it tangibly. The bridge harmonies and solos on guitar really capture the essence of the mood as he further struggles with himself to integrate with his people, despite knowing they harbor dangerous demons within them. On neutral or critical note, some aspects of the pacing and arrangement feel a tiny bit lacking, and some tweaks could have been made, it feels like, but in the grand scope, this song is still amazing and one of their best, so here's the rating. The Evil That Men Do's final rating is 12.06 out of 13. Okay, the title track, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. It's got a really cool intro with a creepy, doomy sounding choir and very creepy guitar riff. It's a very mystical vibe to it and portends that the character will meet a cruel fate as he's being coveted by good and evil forces. The verses are really filled with wonder and storytelling magic. It's amazing to feel the overall vibe while listening to this song. It's kind of a bird's eye view of the scenes unfolding. The pre-chorus bellowing that Bruce does where he just carries the note oh for like 15 seconds or whatever, very powerful, and the keyboards add to the ominousness of the mood in this passage, really conveying the almost hopeless tragedy that will likely befall the seventh son. There's an intro into the instrumental bridge with guitar harmony and keyboard working off each other, really thrusts you further into the story, and the first part of the bridge with the spoken word has an awesome vibe to it overall, as the prophecy is made about the seventh son, the tragedy and the fate of him, and the choir in the background sounds great. Nice heavy guitar building the mood for the segue into the second movement, and got a great guitar harmony, and the second half of the bridge to end the song. It's got a really proggy layout, a lot of tempo shifts, shredding guitar solos, and the overall mood really conveys the struggle between the factions to take control of the sun, as well as conveying his tribulation within himself, and the chants towards the end really reflect his difficulty in coming to terms with his gifts, as well as the greed of those around him coveting his abilities. The ending passages with the guitar harmonies and the solos I thought conveyed really well the determination by the seventh son to hold on and not let these factions manipulate or deviate him from his destiny or his own personal goals. The critical notes on this song: the verses overall are strong, but they still lack a certain intangible punch, even if very subtly. And the chorus is very repetitive with the song title chanting, and it just feels kind of tired at times. But in any case, solid song, so let's take a gander at the rating. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son's final rating, it is 11.16 out of 13. Okay, The Prophecy. Beautiful intro with a lulling melody and great harmonies and keyboards, really solidifying the hope of the son as he sees this disaster in his mind and thinks that he can try and prevent it. The verses nicely capture the scene as he's trying to warn them of it, but their ignorance, superstition, and fear prevent them from understanding or believing him. And in the aftermath of that, the chorus does a good job at projecting his frustration and desperation as he's scrambling to try and prevent this from happening behind the scenes, because his people won't do anything because they don't believe him. There's a nice bridge in the middle that really captures the disaster unfolding with some nice tempo shifts in the overall vibe. Really good solid beat, guitar harmonies in the first half with a Baroque chord progression or something analogous to it, and a really nice vibe. And the second verse coming in then has a nice projection of him wrestling with the results of being blessed and cursed by having these clairvoyant abilities, and nobody believes him when he makes these predictions, and he has to watch all these horrible things happen. And the carry-off into the outro is very well done. It captures the mood of his surrender to his fate. It's a reprise of the pre-verse riff from the beginning of the song. On some critical notes, the chorus is generally good, but it's a bit weak in some spots in the overall vibe. And overall, the song has kind of a hobby song vibe to it in certain parts, and it didn't seem like they fully dug down within themselves to project it outwardly, the deeper meaning of the lyrics and the other themes present in the song. So, in any case, here's the rating. The Prophecy's final rating is 10.39 out of 13. Alright, The Clairvoyant. It's got a really awesome bass intro, nice build up with the guitar and hi-hat coming in, and you can feel that the son is resigning himself to follow his visions and doing what he can to help his people before the end of his life. The verses are really awesome. The keyboard and the guitar and bass feeding off each other really put you in the zone, conveying the mood as he views these scenes in his mind's eye and feeling his emotions as he's trying to control the power, but to no avail. The final chorus, shifted down a key especially, I noted, really hits home the vibe of realizing the end of your life is at hand and that death is the inevitable conclusion to your cycle in this world. And the ending lyrics where he sings, "and to be reborn again," reaffirming his faith and his knowledge that he's going to return to live another life and improve himself. On a critical note, the chorus is definitely the low point overall, and it doesn't really fully capture the mood, and it's repetitive and not enough done to project the full dynamics of the moods of the character in the story. And that's about the only thing. I mean, just a little bit of tweaking here and there could have made this a lot better of a song. So here's the rating. And The Clairvoyant gets 10.42 out of 13. Okay, Only the Good Die Young, the final track of the album. The intro and pre-verse riff, the mood really reflects the strong emotions that he feels closing in on the end of his life. The verses project very well the anger and resentment as he gives into the destructive emotions within him, if only for the moment, and losing his self-control, becoming bitter and disenfranchised. The vocal harmony during the chorus, coupled with the keyboards, do a pretty good job at capturing the mood of his resolution, knowing that he's going to pass away soon. And during the instrumental bridge, there's some nice guitar soloing, really groovy bass riff, tumultuous vibe overall. It really conveys his wrestling with his anger right to the very end. Yet you also can feel the eventual surrender and acceptance of their nature, even though they're the ones who are wanting to kill him. Then jam session at the very end does a really good job at conveying the story coming full circle, and then the reprise of the opening part of Moonchild to conclude the story, and the final deed as his life is taken finally. The critical note I had to say about this, also another weak chorus on this particular song, just feels flat and uninspired, and it doesn't capture the song's feel very well compared to some of the other parts of it. So let's take a look at the rating. And Only the Good Die Young receives a 10.05 out of 13. Okay, and there we have the track-by-track analysis of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Now, we're going to take a peek at the album's comprehensive rating and its ranking among all 15 albums. So, let us take a little look at it, shall we? Alright, so Seventh Son of a Seventh Son receives a 10.74 out of 13 average rating, ranking it 5th out of 15 albums. Okay, there we are. As you can see, another superb album. Not my favorite by them by a bit, but still in the top 5, so those of you who are die-hard Seventh Son of a Seventh Son fans, don't feel too offended that I put it down. What I look for in their songs is a lot more of the esoteric values of the soul, of the projection of the music, and what the story that it can tell, supplementing the lyrics, and they did that very well on their last 2 albums in particular, so that's why this album got put down a little bit more than than maybe some people feel it deserves. But in my track analyses, I didn't give any 2 songs the same rating, so by the time I was done analyzing all those in comparison with every other one in the same category of rating when I first ranked the albums, that's the way this one fell, was 5th ranking. So still a great album, but nowhere near my favorite. Feel free to comment. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this one, and we can converse about it. And thank you for continuing to watch these videos. They're starting to pick up some steam now, and thanks to all the new subscribers that have joined to put me over 250 as of the time I filmed this video. So thank you guys once again, and I'll be coming at you with No Prayer for the Dying in 2 weeks' time. I will see you then.